Hey guys, Matt Strayer's Cards here. Happy Tuesday, and man, what an awesome weekend it was. I had a wonderful opportunity to go with my family to the Texas State Fair. We consumed a ton of awesome fried foods as well as just had a blast. So that was awesome. I also got to take my boys to a monster truck jam, so that was amazing as well. And my Baylor Bears won, so what an awesome weekend. But better than that, I was watching some videos this week, and I came across Chris from Missouri's video that he just recently put out about the story of his daughter. And the video is called I Remember. And I just was so encouraged by Chris's just heart to share the things that he'd been going through in just a really difficult season that turned out to be a huge blessing in his family. So, Chris, man, brother, thank you so much for sharing that. It really, really struck a deep chord in my heart, which is, part of the reason why I wanted to take time this video to talk about a new card project that I'm working on. But before I do that, I wanted to share kind of some of my wife, Catherine and I's story and some of the hard things that we've gone through and how God worked faithfully in our lives. So we had always, had a heart to have kids, and, we'd watched, some friends start having kids, and, we'd been praying about it and decided, man, it would be awesome to want to jump in. So that's what we did. We prayed about it and, tried to have kids, and it just wasn't, didn't start well for us because we, took a little bit longer than we wanted to for us to get pregnant. I don't know about you, but if you're in a season of infertility while everyone else is getting pregnant, it is really hard. So for anyone walking through that season, man, I feel for you, and just know that praying for you, and it's tough. And so as we dealt with that, we ended up eventually getting pregnant, and we were able to have our son Will and then another son James, two amazing kiddos that I just love very dearly. And as the Lord put it, in our hearts to add to our family for a third time, my wife Catherine and I, we ended up getting pregnant. But unfortunately, this time we had a miscarriage at about 7 weeks. And so we lost a kiddo that we named Sam, just as a reminder, as like a offering to the Lord, as Samuel was given as an offering to the Lord. And so, we decided that we wanted to, keep trying after that, and we were able to get it pregnant again. And this time, we were pregnant, and it was far enough along to where we ended up, we knew it was a little girl that we were going to have, and we were about halfway there, just right under 20 weeks, and we went in for an appointment. But this time, the doctors came in and told us that there was no heartbeat, that we ended up having to go to the hospital and deliver a deceased baby. And it was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. In fact, really my wife did, but we experienced that and navigated just that grief together. I remember being in the hospital and just crying out to God, and we were singing, sorry, it's emotional, but we were just singing a Shane and Shane song. And it was the song All Sufficient Merit. And we were just reminded of, even in our greatest tragedy, that like God is still with us. We had friends that drove in from out of town that just sat with us. We had, just so many people showed up. And in that moment, it just felt like God's people were with us. We felt very seen in the middle of our greatest tragedy. But as we were walking through that, it was very, very challenging. There's a lot of lows, but certainly a lot of good things as well. And so my wife and I prayed about it again and decided that we wanted to continue to try down the road, a few months down the road. So we ended up getting pregnant again by God's grace, and we ended up having a little girl that we named Merit after that song that we sang in the hospital, All Sufficient Merit, just to remind her and ourselves that Christ is our all sufficient merit. And so the craziest part about this whole story is on May 14th of 2023, my wife and I had a little funeral ceremony for our daughter, Grace, that we lost. We had a little deal in the backyard, just us, and we planted some, pink flowers just to remind us every year when they come up, just of the memory of Grace. And we ended up, doing that. But then on May 14th of 2024, you can't make this up, but on the same day that we, had a funeral for Merit, or funeral for Grace, we ended up having our daughter Merit a year later on the exact same day. And you can't make that up. God's faithfulness just continued to show up in our lives. And we're just reminded of the sweetness of that when we hold our daughter Merit. We're just reminded it takes all the pains of a newborn, or right now she's 1.5. All the pains of having young children can bring are just completely vanished by just the joy of and blessing of being able to have Merit. And so, what a joy! And so, I wanted to share that because I hope it encourages you. If you're walking through infertility or loss, I would love to encourage you any way I can. I can't say that we've had the longest season of infertility, or they've heard stories of much more loss, but I can empathize with you and just know that my heart goes out for anyone navigating that. So I'd love to encourage you any way I can. And as I was thinking about just the blessing and just amazing joy it is to have kids, I was talking to my son about, what's something we could do together. And I just love to spend, time doing with something I love. And obviously I love cards. And so I was talking to my son, my oldest Will, about are there any cards you would want? And he said, Dad, I would love to have as many Texas Ranger cards as I can. And I was just, a light bulb hit me, and I thought, well, why don't we just go after all of the Texas Ranger cards, all of the base cards from every set from 1972 to 2025. And that to me, it just, we went and sorted through the junk wax that I had, my box of childhood cards. We pulled out every Rangers cards and were able to find a couple hundred cards to add to that collection. And you should have seen the look on the boys' face just putting these cards in the binder. They were jumping up and down. It was so fun. Their boys are 4 and 6 right now. Just to see the joy in their faces at base cards, guys. They don't know what a numbered card is. They just know that it's a card and it's got the Texas Rangers, the team that they love on it. Some of them are creased to heck. There's all kinds of issue. They don't care about condition. They just love the card. And I just love the fact that that gives me so much more joy than, other cards that I'm looking for right now. And so that has been such a fun project. It's really brought a lot of joy back in the hobby for me. So I say this shamelessly because if you have any extra Texas Ranger commons laying around, I would love to take them off your hands and slowly go through this amazing journey that my boys or I are on. I think there's around about just under 1,000 cards from 72 to 90, and we probably have a couple hundred, so we're about, call it 6 to 8% done on each decade. So it's kind of like Mike Moynihan's 5-decade set, but only in the Rangers version. But anyways, if you want to reach out, please send me an email at straightracecards@gmail.com or matt_straightracecards on Instagram, and I'd love to connect. Be happy to pay for shipping or anything if you do have some cards that you want to give. But anyways, guys, I'd encourage you to just be reminded of the blessing of your kids if you have them, but B, go find something in the hobby that brings you joy. And it doesn't have to be an expensive card. Base cards can give you just as much joy. So that's my encouragement to you guys. Hope you guys enjoy and keep running the straight race. So I figured I'd show you kind of the start of this binder. So, I'm missing a ton of cards. I think I have about 8% of each year. So again, just a handful of cards here, but I'm excited to slowly work on this with the boys. We've got, 74 Fergie Jenkins. Here's some 75s we've gotten. I love this Tom Grieve. It's one of my favorite. And thanks to a friend, Vintage Cards Only on Instagram, who sent me some more of these. Just love looking through these base cards, and it's been so fun going through with my boys, putting this together. And so this is something that, this is just a start. So I've got this binder, and, I'm imagining I would have to get a much larger binder or a few, but we're still working on it. Love this 1990s Nolan Ryan. That is awesome. So, again, these Pudge Rodriguez, one of my favorite cards. You can see his Rookie Cup card there. So love that. I think this is 92 right here. Yep, 92s. So some awesome cards. This is my son's favorite card. And you notice how it's just creased, to heck on this. And that's what it's all about. It's like my boys were just in our room playing with them. There was bent cards, creased cards, and I'm great with that because it just means that they are loving on cards. That's a cool, I think that's 94 Ryan. Yep, and then here's a Pudge going off to some of the later years. I don't have much of the modern stuff, so I will slowly pick up some of those. I do have some of the 2023s and 4s, just because, how do those two sneak in there? I ended up buying some of the team sets from 23 and 24, so we've got a fair bit of those. I think we've got 22, 23, and then here's some 24. 24 might be complete, I forget. So anyways, that is the set that I'm working on, so excited to do that. If you know of any Texas Rangers commons that you have and want to contribute to the project, please let me know, reach out, and I'd love to hear from you. Thanks, guys, and keep running the straight race.